Okay. Okay. So let's get into the conversation. Let's open it up. Uh, Professor Godfrey Bokping is a teacher of finance and economics at the University of Ghana. He's a teacher too. And so he's joined the conversation. Prof. Bokping, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yes, good morning, Winston, and your colleagues. Good morning to the people of Ghana.
Great. We know that
it's
we
not
normally
too
speak
late
to
to say
you.
Happy New Year.
A Happy New Year to you also. We know that we normally speak to you on issues of the economy and finance, but this one is about secondary education curriculum and teacher manual. I know you've been following the conversation because some Ghanaians have raised concerns about how there's been an attempt to smuggle LGBTQ related content into our secondary schools. Is that what you see based on the teacher manual and even the response from NACCA?
Well, thank you very much. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that 2026, these conversations are coming up. Clearly, the promoters of LGBTQ plus and all of that, having given up the same way Ghanaians, the wider society, stakeholders across different religious groups, family values and all of that should also not give up. I think it's just unfortunate because if you look at the statements released by government officials, clearly they should have just admitted and apologized. It couldn't have been just an error. There should be no inconsistency between the approved curriculum and the manual to guide teachers. There should be consistency. And I think that as part of quality assurance and all of that, the ministry, Ghana Education Service, should have checked this, that there is consistency, that it doesn't create the impression that they want to smuggle this in, they want to sneak this thing in, and all of that. And I think the more they try to explain, the more they give themselves up.
But Prof, then also, for purposes of the clarification, is there anything wrong with having a curriculum and having teacher manuals to aid teachers in teaching?
The manual is to aid teachers towards a goal, and the goal would have been outlined in the curriculum. So the manual should not speak or should not guide teachers differently from what has been approved in the curriculum. So if in the curriculum, the understanding is that the LGBTQ characterization do not represent what the aspirations of Ghanaians broadly, for which reason there is actually a bill in Parliament. We've spent the past 3.5 years or so and all of that. To the extent that the ministry believes that the curriculum itself should not reflect this, then the manual to guide teachers should not convey or seeks to create a different impression and all of that. And I think that is where the problem is. There should be consistency.
Okay.
The manual should reinforce the objectives of the curriculum. Otherwise, they will be throwing confusion into the system. And as you can see clearly, that is what has happened. So if they were afraid, they were not bold enough to include the LGBTQ things in the curriculum, they could not and they should not throw dust into the eyes of Ghanaians. That is unfortunate.
Now, this curriculum is to train globally competitive students, Prof. So in training globally competitive students, isn't it important we let them know how globally people define gender rather than, and then tell them what it is that we like in Ghana?
There is no global acceptance of LGBTQ anywhere as a standard, as the best practice, as the way. There is none. Countries have evolved. You can see the pressure on the UN and its organs and how countries want to assert their own sovereignty, their nationalism, the rise of nationalism, regionalism, and all of that clearly tells you that there's a certain global discussion sort of that countries feel inconsistent with their values, and they wouldn't want to surrender to that. As a country, we have our own values. We have that defines us across different religious backgrounds, beliefs, culture, and all of that. And there is sufficient evidence that whether you look at it from economic perspective in terms of value creation, or you look at it from moral perspective and all of that, LGBTQ does not deliver any superior value to any country. That is a fact. So we should not embrace this all in the name of training globally competitive labor force. No. Clearly, that is not. In fact, if you look at World Economic Forum, the skills that will define the future under the fourth industrial revolution, as countries embrace digitization and all of that, you check whether any of this clearly has listed LGBTQ tenants and all of that as a critical skill that a human being created in the image and likeness of God, who believes in the growing concern of society, values, and all of that, really would want to embrace. I think we should just understand that. We recognize that there are tendencies, there are issues in there, and all of that. I think the way to solve that is not to mainstream it, is to see how specific interventions can be designed to help those categories of people. So it's not the case of that we must hate them. We must love them enough to understand that this is not the way of life, and there are ways to come out of it. There is help, there is assistance, and all of that. And I think that is the way we should go. There are just too many things that as a country, very important things that as a country with our limited resources, we should focus on. We should not be majoring on the minor.
Okay, finally, you talked about the response of NACCA. You say they should have just apologized and moved on instead of trying to explain. What's wrong with their explanation? They tell you this is what they've done, and they've told them that this is not right. So that's it.
Yeah, but NACCA should have known. They should have checked. This is why they live on taxpayers' money. We are in this country. There are values. So if they were not bold enough to have this in the curriculum itself, you could not sneak in through the manual, supposedly to think that we won't know, Ghanaians won't know, and all of that. The more we do these things, the more we undermine trust in state institutions, and that itself is not helpful for anyone.
All right, Professor Bokping, thank you very much for joining us this morning. We're grateful to you.
God bless you.
Yeah, and that's Professor Godfred Bokping, Professor of Finance at the University of Ghana Business School, joining us this morning. Now, this message says, global identification must not contradict or erode in individuality of nations' values and traditions. A nation's uniqueness is what attracts others into their space. This one says, boss, what is global? It's mainly Western countries that are pushing and are being termed global. Okay, so there you have it. But really, could you, as parents, yes, we want to ensure that our children are taught the right things. But recently, I also got to know that in a lot of our cartoons that you watch, there's a gradual introduction of LGBTQ content
everywhere
into cartoons. So the children are watching these things. And you probably may think, oh, they are watching cartoons. And they're seeing things that are promoting these things.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's another thing we should focus on.
It's at the core of this conversation. Because the children start their virtual socialization with their tablets and the screens. Right? And everywhere you go, governments that are minded, governments that deliberately want to play a role in the primary socialization of their citizenry have made investments. So, for example, if you go to the UK, you have the BBC, right?
Yeah.
You've got a children's channel. Don't they have? You have Nickelodeon, Nicktoons. You have all sorts of channels. People invest. Economists are investing in how they are going to train and socialize their human resources from a very young age.
Yeah.
But what do we have? we give birth to our children, and they get to watch Baby Shark, do 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 do, Baby Shark. They get to watch Peppa Pig, all sorts of things, because we here, we are not putting our money where our mouth is. If we don't want our children to be socialized wrongly, and a lot of the content they are consuming is online, what do? You invest some money into the same space. But what strategic investment has the state, the Republic of Ghana, made in this stead? Okay, we have stories, we have our own culture, and we have stories for years, stories for days, across the various regions, across the various cultures. But we don't do them. So your child wants to learn how to count, you give them a tablet after school. Charlie, you are busy. We are all busy. You give them a tablet and they'll go on YouTube Kids or whatever channel, and that's where they are learning how to count. Now, when one video is done, another video will be recommended. Algorithm recommends all sorts of things, and the kids, they are just there. They just keep pressing. And psychologically, this content is curated to want the kids to have more.
Yeah.
So they always want more. And they always know what to click on,
subscribe, and they keep subscribing.
And so for me, you remember when Harry Idrisu came here, we discussed this. And we told him that for over 60 years, the state has failed in doing this. At least back then, there was By the Fireside, Kwasasa, there was all those things. Those were not the proper internet age and the attention economy. And then we had Zingaro Productions, we have Poker Productions, we have Animax FYB. We have a lot of animation studios in this country which are largely funded by grants from outside. Let's put some money down as part of the Ghana cultural policy and as part of our need to train our children well. Let's put some money down. A $10 million fund, a $20 million fund. Let's fund these animation studios to start creating content that is relevant. If we say we are losing local languages, for example, it's because a lot of the kids, what they have is in English. Okay, it's in English. So my children may speak English better and may not even know Bono or Fanti or the Asante tree better. But who has created animation and content for children in Asante tree? Who has created it in Ever? Who has created it in Ga? Who has created it in Dagbani? Who has created it in Zima? And these things, businesses don't create it out of a vacuum. There should be some foundational support for the businesses to use to build the initial businesses, and then they scale as they go along. But we don't do anything. In this country, we just talk, we don't want our kids to do LGBT, but they are watching it on their tablets.
Exactly.
We are not investing in the things we really need to invest in. And for me, I always say that it won't cost us an arm and a leg to put some funding down to support our animation studios in this country to create the content to drive the growth we want. So the kids are watching all these things, so they'll start asking you for chicken nuggets. So what they see also becomes what they want to consume. And what they see also becomes what they want to do. So Halloween is coming. Your children will remind you, and the school will also send you a text and send you a bill to buy clothes for Halloween. But your Asebu Amanfi stories, your Yasantua stories, the good, the bad, the Algocolis and all those things. And even if we don't want those folk stories we've been told, we have people who have been trained and we have great story writers. Let's start writing scripts and stories, animate and create the content for our children.
Now, this is a message that I got from one of our listeners who's within our education space.
Yeah.
And she says, unfortunately, most of these reviews are not being financed with taxpayers' money. Sponsors have underlying interests that we need to figure out and ascertain how it blends and strengthens our national values. So if the agenda does not work with what we want, we have no business accepting their so-called assistance.
Yeah.
Thankfully, the online versions have been edited to reflect what we want. But please check who financed our pre-tertiary curriculum. And it's where the issue is. Because if you're not prepared to finance what was critical to you, and if you're asking me to finance it, I might as well tell you what to do.
Yeah.
You know, he who pays the piper calls the tune. Unfortunately, that is what we've become noted for in this country. we're consistently asking for everything. Everything we do, we need help.
Yeah.
But the people that we're asking for help from, they also have their own preferences. So they push them onto you and say, do things this way, do things that way. And that's the end of it. So someone sends a message that says, boss, it's not only cartoons. So Hollywood has been promoting it for decades. Throw your mind back and try and recollect the number of times you see at the end of a Hollywood film, which has absolutely nothing to do with gender. You see two men or women kissing each other. That is brainwashing, period. Okay, let's get back onto the phone lines. And we've been joined by Moses Foh-Amoaning. He's been leading the crusade against LGBTQ. He's been with those who've been fighting it in Parliament. And he joins us. He's a lawyer. We've known him also as a key person when it comes to sports in this country. But this time we're talking about anti-LGBTQ. He supports the promotion of proper human and sexual values. Moses Foh-Amoaning, good morning and thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you too, my brother. Yeah.
Great. So let's get straight to the statement from NACCA. Yesterday, the concerns were raised. NACCA responded and said, look, this is it. That's not what is in the curriculum, but rather in the teacher manual, which is supposed to aid teachers. We have, however, reviewed this to reflect our culture, values, and norms as a people. Does that end it there for you, or you say more has to be done?
First of all, good morning to all your listeners, and on behalf of all Ghanaians, I want to congratulate your media house and all the media houses that have performed their constitutional role by holding state institutions to account when they even infringe on the cultural values of this country. I want to congratulate all media houses. All of you have done so well. Now, direct to your question, should it end here? No. This is the same NACCA that were at the heart of the comprehensive sexuality education document which was produced. Go back to 2018, 2019, and you'll see that what I'm saying is true. So what the coalition is asking for is the institution of an independent investigative body to find out exactly what is happening to our curriculum development and the influence of foreign cultures. We need an independent investigatory team to do this, because this is not the first time. And my brother, we have good relationship with the current director of the Ghana Education Service and with the ministry. They're fantastic people. But there are lots of people also below that level, maybe at director level or whatever levels, who are keen on bringing this LGBT rights through the back door. Let me give you one example. Although comprehensive sexuality education has been banned in Ghana, do you know that there are some foreign-run schools like British American school and all these who are running different curricula, who are bringing in playing comprehensive sexuality education? Are you aware?
No.
Maybe you are not aware. Go and do your investigations. We have actually prompted the Schools Instructions Directorate of the GS to deal with this matter, and we're discussing it. So it is not true that, they have withdrawn it, so they didn't see it. Please, that is not true at all. The matter should not end here. Let us have an independent ministerial executive, or maybe it doesn't even need to be ministerial. It has to be a body set up by the president to investigate and find out what is happening. God, my brother, it's not just NACCA. Even SRAJ itself is being corrupted. And I'm saying this. The Commission of Ghana, the Ghana's Commission of Human Rights and Administrative Justice is being corrupted on this issue.
How?
So, yes, let me explain.
Please
How
do.
come we have a Commission of Human Rights and Administrative Justice that goes, instead of propounding human rights visions and values and ideology from the point of view of Ghanaians, they keep on reflecting these foreign views. Look, we have evidence, and I'm saying that when that committee is set up, and we're looking at all the other institutions, we can begin with NACCA for now. But once we study it, I will bring you the evidence. In fact, a lot of UN institutions have also been corrupted. That is why President Trump currently has withdrawn from WHO, UNESCO, UNHCR, UNFP, all the UN institutions, all of them are being corrupted. And that is something we've written to Parliament to investigate. Because Ghana, we're a member of the United Nations. There is not a single, and I'm challenging any lawyer, to produce a single standard UN covenant that allows for LGBTQ rights. No. It was in 2006 that they met in Yogyakarta and produced a wish list of LGBT principles and tried to infiltrate the international human rights regime. So it is not even true. So my brother, it's not just NACCA. It goes beyond it. And we are asking for an independent investigatory team to look at this matter. Why is it that NACCA was the same body that tried to bring comprehensive sexuality education? They are the same body that is trying to push this thing through. And every time we catch them, Maka, and so, what to be that? I said, let us look for the Ukra and then arrest the Ukra and lock him up.
And here, who is the Ukra?
What do you say?
Who is the Ukra here?
Well, the Ukra is NACCA. The Ukra is NACCA. And the people who are there. Because you can't tell me, my brother, can you seriously tell me, as they are saying in their letter, that, we didn't see that do you believe this? Do you honestly, as a journalist, believe this explanation?
Do you believe
it? Of course
it
is not true. And I've given you the added example of how comprehensive sexuality education, that whole green document, I'll try and look for the copy. They produced it. When we challenged them, we don't know anything about it. When we showed them the document, then they started panicking. We are not sure. We didn't know. We didn't understand. Really, they were going to teach our children, what is it called? Masturbation at 4 years old. What is the meaning of all of this? And that is what even upsets you. You've got Ghanaian intellectuals who claim that they have all the knowledge. And yet still they want to tell me, my brother, that it is a human right. Chief, you sitting there in the studio, can you pour water through your ears? Can you do so?
No.
You start pouring water in your ears, you will see, they'll be trouble in the studio. They'll think that there's something wrong with you. So if somebody tells us that he wants to enter through the exit, said a beanie free bar, and he says it is a human right. Can you imagine this? It is normal for human beings to do that. So what intellectual gymnastics can make anybody who says he's an intellectual? Intellect means you are rational. You can think through things and reason. What reasonable person who will assume that you can put your penis through feces? How? I don't understand this. Or put food through your nose and then you say it is a human right. How is that possible? I don't get it. You get me? If anybody has that passion, it is obvious that the person has a problem. And the purpose of all medical science is to address that issue. Your coalition has done a good job. We've got professors of medicine, psychology, psychology, medicine, psychiatry, and surgery. We put all of them together, and we are offering a lot of help to a lot of people who have these problems, and we've healed a lot of them. So we have addressed the issue. We've shown that in Ghana, we are smart, we are clever, and we can deal with these matters. We don't want anybody bringing some fake intellectualism to convince Ghanaians about this behavior.
Now, talking about fake intellectualism, there's also the question about funding. Now, we're always engaged in curriculum development and redevelopment, but the question really is, who funds these?
It's not even laughable. Chief, I'm asking you a question. These politicians, when they are coming to power, do they tell us that they will run the country down and then tell us that if we don't get money from our foreign donors, if we don't admit of Trumu, we won't get money? When they are coming to power, they are in opposition. Please, do you hear them argue that position? Is that their position?
No.
Their position always is, we are economists, we are knowledgeable, we have the men, we have the knowledge. That's what they espouse. So is it not bizarre? In fact, our former president, Akufo-Addo, when he was coming, he was talking about Africa beyond aid. Is that not what he was preaching? Mm-hmm. So how come, when he was ending, there was a statement from the Ministry of Economy, I don't know who produced that, such a laughable document, that, if Ghana accepts LGBT, these are the... Really? You push the whole country by economic mismanagement into a ditch, and then you turn round and come and tell us that, if we don't get grant and money, we don't allow or people to do what they like and exhibit strange sexual behavior, we are not going to get grant. Really? What kind of intellectual thinking or rational thinking will lead you to this argument? It is so shameful. Anybody who proposes it, I want to hear the name of the person and I will hoot at him. What kind of intellectualism is this? Well, but you come to power, we give you power. And look at Article 1 of the Ghanaian Constitution. It says sovereignty resides in the people of Ghana, and all the powers of government are supposed to be exercised for and on their behalf and for their well-being. What it means legally is that we've constituted them into constitutional trustees and agents for us. They work for us. They are not supposed to be pushing their own agenda. Oh, you understand me? And that's why I feel really sad about my own good friend, Professor Kempe, sneaking into the Constitutional Review Committee's report, intersex or LGBT right. What is the meaning of this, Professor? When we have given to you, the coalition, we gave to you proposals to amend the Constitution appropriately to reflect what Ghanaians believe in. So the politicians who are saying, if we don't do it, we won't get grant. My brother, give me their names. I will hoot at them. They should be ashamed of themselves. And they I don't even know what kind of processes of intellectualism get them to the point where they can admit that without due respect. Does it even make sense? It doesn't even make sense. And I don't want to hear it from our Ghanaian politicians.
Okay.
If that is the case, then when they are campaigning, they should tell us. Then we'll see whether we'll vote for them. But if you want to see where Ghanaians stand, look at the elections of 2024. Ghanaians voted massively against a government that had devalued and thrown away our values. That is exactly what happens to government who do that. And for my good friend, Kojo Benson, I remember I saw him on TV3 saying something that, those who are jumping around me, the president didn't sign. Well, I will address Kojo later. But the governments who run counter to the values that the people stand for and for which they were voted for, the people react by voting against them. That is what Ghanaians do, and we exercise that franchise. So I'm appealing to this current president. Ghanaians have given you a huge vote. You promised that you're going to cause a change in the law. Please, Mr. President, don't listen to some of the people around you who are either being financed or are involved in this activity. Pass the law. Bring it through your Attorney General as you promised, and let it be a public bill reflecting, not you, but reflecting what Ghanaians, what we believe in. Okay. And let's see what God will not do for this country, Mr. President.
Moses Foh-Amoaning, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you too. God bless you, my brother.